Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's quick tip has to do with another aspect of posture, and the reason I say another aspect is because in several previous videos I did talk about posture. If I recall correctly, there was one video in which I talked about being careful that you do not stand with your hip jutted out. That can be a bad posture habit. Another video I remember where I talked about an aspect of posture that dealt with your knees and the importance of soft knees. So yeah, I've talked about several aspects of posture, and of course it's important not just in daily life but specifically when it comes to using our voices. So today I want to revisit posture, but this time having to do with being seated, sitting posture. So you could think of these as some key things to keep in mind when you have to speak to an audience seated, when you have to perhaps teach from a seated position, because I know that happens sometimes from my own experience, and or if sometimes you might even have to sing in a seated position depending on what's going on. Maybe record. That's another thing, record from a seated position. So here are some pointers, some things to keep in mind that might be reminders for you, or perhaps you hadn't thought of them before. First of all, when you're seated, to get right into it, you want to make sure that we're going to start from the bottom up. So you want to make sure that your feet are squarely flat on the floor. Now, what I mean by that is that your feet are flat on the floor. But I'm not referring to the shoe wear. So you can have 5-inch heels and still have both feet on the floor. And what I mean by that is don't have one leg under the other leg when you are. This is when you're using your voice to perform. You can do it at other times, but when you're using your voice to perform, you don't want to have one leg under the other leg. You don't want to have your legs crossed or any of those kinds of positions. You want to make sure that both feet are flat on the floor. So that's the first thing, and that'll help set up the rest of your body for good posture. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing you want to keep in mind is to make sure that not only are they flat on the floor, but if possible, that they are not, underneath, but the straight, up and down, straight up and down, that they're not tucked back. Okay, so that's a part of being flat on the floor. Second thing you want to think of is your spine. Make sure that your spine has a good alignment, that don't have an overly stiff spine. You want to be fairly relaxed, but you want to make sure that you keep it erect. Keep your spine erect when seated. Sometimes when you're sitting down, it can be a temptation to round your shoulders and slump a little bit more than you might when you're standing. So you want to be careful that you neither overly slump nor overly arch your back. So one aspect of that you want to keep in mind as well, another pointer, is as much as possible, try to sit toward the edge of your seat. That will help encourage you to hold your posture erect, and it will help discourage the temptation to round your spine. When you put your posterior all the way in the back of your seat, you tend to you might want to sink into the seat a little bit, and those things can contribute to a less than well placed what am I trying to say? Well placed spine is what I'm trying to get at. So you want to stay towards the edge of your seat as much as you can, feet flat on the floor. And then the next thing you want to keep in mind after that is that you're not overly leaning forward, of course, and not overly leaning back. Then moving up to the shoulder area. Same thing as with standing posture, and that is, again, you don't want to round your shoulders. You don't want to pinch your shoulders either. You want to overly pinch them in an effort. You don't want to overly pinch them in an effort to try to sit up straight. But instead, you might think of doing the round and down kind of movement where you round your shoulders and then put them down. That can help encourage you to not only not slump the shoulders and not pinch the shoulder blades, but also rounding the shoulder and bringing them gently down can also encourage you to have a more open chest. So all of those things contribute to the best possible use of our breath, of course, the best posture as far as being erect, but at the same time not overly stiff. And then lastly, you want to think in terms of your chin, I guess you could say. Sometimes when we're seated, you also might have to read. You may be reading to your audience. That happens sometimes. Like I was saying earlier, you might be teaching, reading. Sometimes you may even have to read the music depending on what's going on if you're singing. So you want to be careful that your chin is not, chin and mouth do not stay downward. As much as possible, you still want to have your mouth going outward to your audience, because if you are pointed down for too long a period of time, of course, that's the direction of your voice. And it won't go out, it won't project out to the audience as much as you would like to. And also, besides projection, again, head being, the more your head is down, the more likely you are to follow that with a rounded shoulder, with rounded shoulders and a rounded spine. So you want to, you don't have to keep it up, but you can look up and down. You can be fluid, of course, but I want to be careful that you don't get stuck in a downward position, so to speak. One of the things that can help with that is to bring the, if you can, bring the material more, not forward so much, well, I guess forward, and also bring it a little bit further up, so that you are more likely, and it's easier for you to still look down and read if you need to, and as well as look out and read as well as look out. That way you're not looking back down so far, in order to look at the next part and then come back up again, and it'll help you stay in a good erect posture. All right, well, I hope that was helpful to you. One other thing I was going to show you as well. When I was talking about rounding the spine and your tailbone in particular, you want to keep that upright as well. I'm just going to kind of demonstrate a little bit here. You want to make sure that you are not rounded like that, and you're not overly arched. You don't want to be overly arched or overly rounded. So somewhere, a comfortable, happy medium, somewhere in between. I hope that helped to clarify a little bit more what I was referring to. Anyway, hope that was helpful for you. Please comment and please give me a like, and please, I invite you to subscribe also. And I want to welcome my new subscribers. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad that you joined me, and hopefully these tips will be helpful for you, whether you are using your voice, as I always say, for singing to an audience or speaking to an audience or teaching, and then also, as my spiel down below underneath this video, as I usually state, a lot of these tips are for just good, healthy living, and for other aspects of work and artistry also. Many a musician, drummers, pianists, etc., flutists, violinists need good posture also. So that good posture comes into play in all aspects of life, I think, and in many different kinds of work. So take care. I invite you to follow me on Twitter, CELESTEMUS and the number 1. And also visit me on ReverbNation.com/Angela Celeste May. That's me. All right, take care. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.